Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear students. This is Miss Layla Al-Jihani. Inshallah, today we will continue the expansion units from 4 to 6. Today, in our lesson, we will cover lesson 3, the writing. Previously, we covered the language review. We revised the grammar, the past and present perfect, and how to use the superlative. And I gave you homeworks. Also today I gave you homework related to the language review. Okay, in our previous lesson, what did we cover? In our previous lesson, we read about adventure trips. Remember? Remember the 3 paragraphs about adventures? We talked about it. We answered questions related to it. And also we read some comments, people's comments relating to these adventures, okay? Inshallah, today in our lesson, by the end of it, you will be able to write a brochure of an adventure trip. So you will write a brochure similar to the one we covered in the reading. Did you remember, I think, page 70? I'm not sure. 70 or 71. So the same, you should write something similar, but you have to make it related to Saudi Arabia, a place in Saudi Arabia, okay? طيب, before we start, we have to cover the homework, okay? I gave you page 131 as a homework in your workbook. Exercise G, complete the sentences, use comparative and superlative adjectives. Do you remember the comparative and superlative? Do you remember the difference between the two? Comparative, we are comparing between 2 things or 2 people, right? And the superlative, we are comparing between 3 and more. Excellent, okay? So for the first one, the purple tie is $22. The green tie is $20. The red tie is $18. These are the information about colors of ties. So the red tie is it? The red tie, where is it? It's the what? Expensive. How can we, here we're using comparative or superlative? Superlative, excellent, because we are comparing between 3, صح? So in this statements, we are comparing between 3, so we will use the superlative. طيب, is it the most expensive or the least expensive? The least expensive, excellent. So the green tie, so this is the information about the green tie. The green tie is expensive than the purple. So here we are comparing between the purple and the green. We are comparing between 2. So we're using comparative or superlative? Comparative, excellent. So how can we form the statement here? The green tie is more expensive or less expensive than the purple, okay? The last statement, the purple tie is the, so here we're using superlative, excellent. So here is, we will say the purple tie is the most expensive tie, okay? So here we say least expensive, and here we say less expensive, because here we're comparing between 2. And the last one, most expensive. Number 2, the Italian restaurant usually has a line of people waiting outside to eat. It's very popular. There is sometimes an empty table or 2 at the Indian restaurant, but it's usually crowded. There aren't, here negative, usually many people in the French restaurant. This is, so here we have 3 restaurants, 3 type of restaurants. These the information we will use to fill out these blanks. Take your time to look at the statements, compare your answer with your friends, and let's see it together. It's never crowded and the food isn't good. The Italian restaurant is the most popular. The French restaurant is always the least crowded. We're using the adjectives between the brackets. The Indian restaurant is better than. Here we use the comparative, the French restaurant. Okay, number 3, Ali's backpack weighs 4 kilograms. My backpack weighs 5 kilograms. It's really heavy. Fadi's backpack is 3 kilograms. So we have 3 types of ways of backpacks, and we are comparing between the 3. Sometimes we are comparing between 2. When you see than, automatically you use the comparative. And if you can't see it, then we will use the superlative. Let's see the answers together. My backpack is the heaviest of all. So we are comparing between 3. We use the superlative. Ali's backpack is heavier than. Automatically, when we see than, then we use the comparative, not superlative. Fadi's backpack is lighter than my backpack. Okay, this is for number 3. Okay, now for exercise H, write sentences, make comparisons with as and as. Here we are using as and as. Do you remember how we use it? Where do we put the adjective? Between, excellent, between as and as. We put it in the middle, the adjective. Do we add ER, EST? Do we add anything to the adjective? No, we don't add anything. Excellent. So this is the example, cell phone, chocolate bar. So these are the objects they are comparing between. And here we have the adjective light. How can we form it? We can say a cell phone is as light as a chocolate bar, or a chocolate bar is as light as a cell phone. Okay? Think about the others and let's see the answers together. Remember, when you see a negative here, so you put the negative after is. Okay? Like for example here, if you can see, a train is not as fast as a plane. Ice cream is as good as cake. This is number 2. Number 3, water skiing is as exciting as surfing. So we are comparing between 2, and we put the adjective in the middle. If we can't see not, like here we have not. If we can't see not, then we just put the adjective. If you see not, we put it after is here. Okay? Biology is not as interesting as English. This is for exercise H. Now for exercise I, make indirect questions. Do you remember the direct questions and the indirect questions? How do we form the direct and indirect questions? Yes, with the indirect questions we add do you know or could you tell me? Okay, could you tell me? And we complete the question. Okay? Like for example, how much does a subway ticket cost? This is direct. I'm asking about the price. But how can we make it indirect? We add either do you know or could you tell me. طب يلا. Could you tell me? Could you tell me? Then how much? What about does? Where do we put it? Does, we don't add it, so we say do you know how much a subway ticket costs? So the S here, we move it here. Costs, okay? Number 2, what's the name of this bridge? Okay, so here we have is. What is? How can we change it? We ask, could you tell me or do you know what the name of this bridge is? We add is at the end, okay? Let's see the answers. Do you know how much a subway ticket costs? Do you know what the name of this bridge is? Number 3, could you tell me where the best Indian restaurant is? Number 4, do you know how many flights there are to Amman today? Amman. 5, do you know where my keys are? Okay, so this is how we form indirect questions. For our lesson today, we finished the homework. For our lesson today, inshallah, in page 71, we will cover the writing. What do they want you to do? They want you to write a brochure, okay? Write a brochure similar to the reading. If we go back to the reading and we see the brochure there, they provide information, they attract people so they can do the sport, okay? Here, we're focusing in our country. We're not writing an extreme sport and adventure around the world. We're focusing in Saudi Arabia. Do we have this type of adventures in Saudi Arabia? Yes, we do. We have many adventures. So you will work with a partner. You will not work alone. You have to be with a partner. So you will work in pairs or group of 3. It's okay. So you will work with your partner. You have to write a brochure of an adventure trip in your country. Then you have to present it to your class. In the presentation, when you are making the presentation, make sure to add pictures, add attracting language, because at the end you have to make a voting which adventure you would like to go to, okay? So these are the adventures we covered in our previous lesson. You can read it. You can look at the language they used, look at the vocabulary they used, okay? And try to write something similar, okay? But make it related to Saudi Arabia, okay? These are the adventures. So how can we start? The first step is choose the adventure. Which adventure you will write about? Is it skydiving? Is it diving? Is it biking? Is it rock climbing? Is it bungee jumping? Which adventure you will write about? When you choose the topic, when you choose the adventure, then we will move on to the next step. Do you remember this discussion we talked about last class? These discussion, we gave many examples. You can use the notes from that exercise to help you choose the adventure, to choose the topic, to gather information, take notes. Use your notes from the discussion to help you. We have these questions to support you. Remember the steps to write. For any writing, there are some steps. The first step, خلاص, you chose the topic. What is the next step? You have to research. You have to gather information. From the information you read, you have to write notes, write a draft, proofread the draft, final writing, okay? So for the research, you have to gather detail from books. You can ask people who did the adventure. You can surf the internet. You can interview people. And for writing the note, you have to write the important ideas, okay? There, you can use this chart to write down the ideas. Remember to record when you are interviewing someone who did the adventure. Record how did they feel when they did the adventure? What did they hear? What did they see? Okay? What did they smell when they did these adventures? Okay? To record their emotions, so it can help you to write your brochure. Okay? Then you write the draft. Okay? You transfer the notes into writing. Then you revise it. You ask someone to read it. After you revise it, you correct your grammar. You remove. You use more exciting language, because you are writing a brochure. It's like you are advertising the adventure. So you have to use very interesting language, okay? You have to delete the unnecessary information you think it's unnecessary, okay? So you will work with the partner, choose a topic, okay? And then do the writing process, gather the information, and then transfer it to writing. When you finish, the writing is in front of you, and you have to add pictures to make it more attractive, so you can present it to your class. I made a sample, okay, about diving in Jeddah. So Red Sea diving. Okay, this is what the sport, the adventure I wrote about. Okay, so diving is very popular sport around the world. Okay, but what makes diving in Saudi Arabia's Red Sea special? This is the question I raised to attract the reader's attention. Untouched and clean, the world Saudi Arabia's Red Sea is the ultimate destination of diving. With many dive locations along its coastline, the longest in the Red Sea, the kingdom is home to one of the most exciting and undiscovered diving places for adventurers, travelers near and far. So, what did you notice when you read this first part? What did you notice? I used a lot of what? Untouched, clean, undiscovered. I used a lot of adjectives, a lot of interesting adjectives to attract the reader, to give it more description, to describe the location. Exciting, the most exciting. Explore ancient shipwrecks and uninhabited desert islands surrounded by amazing reefs, while under the sea marvel at the waters teeming with turtles, clownfish, hammerheads, sharks, and the whale shark, the largest fish in the ocean. Okay? So all these information, how did I gather what creatures live there? How did I gather all these information? Through research. You have to look up the information so it can help you. Okay? Divers don't have to worry about the water being too cold. Surface water temperatures around Jeddah range from the high 35 degrees centigrade in winter to the high 40s in summer. With perfect water temperature, Saudi Arabia's coastal waters are a dream. Okay, so I gave more information about they can around the year. They don't have to come during the summer. The temperature is good, so I advertised that in the brochure. I mentioned the temperature, so people from around the world, they don't have to worry about the temperature. They can come anytime, all within day tripping distance of Jeddah. So I talked about the destination. It will take about a 2-hour car drive to get to the coast, directly in line with this huge reef which stretches for almost 40 kilometers. So I mentioned a lot of numbers. Do you see the numbers? These numbers, from where did I get it? From research and from gathering notes and then transfer it to writing. Each summer since 2007, a Women Dive Day has taken place on the Red Sea. To learn more about female divers in the region, check out this website. Okay? Warning: before diving in areas where sharks live, make sure you take precautions to have a safe dive. Okay? So I wrote the brochure. At the end, I wrote a website for reference. I gave warnings. I mentioned a lot of interesting information for people to know about this adventure. So you have to do something similar. Okay, this will be your homework, to write something, to choose an adventure, to write something similar. Think about the vocabulary you will use. Think about how you will divide your writing. And you have to do also your workbook, page 132. So for your homework, you have to write a brochure about an adventure in Saudi Arabia. This is what we covered in our lesson today. And also you have to do the homework, page 132. That's it for today. Thank you for listening, and inshallah I will see you next class.